Andy Jassy and Jeff Bezos don't agree? Let's find out. Jeff Bezos' successor has set himself apart with a hands-on approach in Washington. Let's discuss this in further detail for our video for today. Without any further ado, let's dive right in. Back when Jeff Bezos was chief executive of Amazon, he took an arm's-length stance toward the company's affairs in Washington. He rarely ever lobbied lawmakers. He testified only once before Congress under the threat of a subpoena. But Andy Jassy, who's Mr. Bezos' successor, is trying a different approach. Since becoming Amazon's chief executive last July, Mr. Jassy, 54, has visited Washington at least 3 times to cross Capitol Hill and visit the White House. In September, he met with Ron Klain, President Biden's chief of staff. He's called Senator Chuck Schumer, the Democratic Majority Leader, to lobby against antitrust legislation, and talked with Senator Tim Kaine, a Democrat from Virginia, about Amazon's new corporate campus in the state. He was very inquisitive, said Mr. Kaine, who met with Mr. Jassy at the Capitol in September and spoke with him by phone recently. Mr. Jassy was diplomatic rather than out to bowl you over by force of personality, Mr. Kaine said, and came prepared with knowledge of the lawmakers' committee assignments. Mr. Jassy's actions in Washington can be seen as a sign of a new era taking shape at Amazon. The executive, who joined the company in '97 and built its Amazon Web Services cloud computing business, followed Mr. Bezos' footsteps for years and was seen as one of his closest lieutenants. The succession last year was mainly seen as a continuation of Mr. Bezos' culture and methods. However, it's been more observed that Mr. Jassy has quietly put his own imprint on Amazon, making more changes than many insiders and company watchers expected. He's taken his time drilling into key parts of the business that Mr. Bezos pushed off into deputies, especially the logistics operations. He's admitted that Amazon has overbuilt and needed to cut costs, closing its physical bookstores and putting some warehouse expansion plans on hold. He's basically started a thunderous overhaul of leadership. And while he reiterated the company's opposition to unions, he also struck a more conciliatory tone with Amazon's 1.6 million employees. The biggest and most notable difference with Mr. Bezos may be that the new chief executive is a far more hands-on approach to regulatory and political challenges in Washington. Mr. Jassy has also engaged more with the scrutiny on Amazon's broader role as an employee and in society, beyond serving customers, said Matt McElwain, a managing partner at Seattle's Madrona Venture Group, which was an early investor in the company. I think those kind of things do matter more to Andy, said Mr. McElwain, who has known Mr. Bezos and Mr. Jassy for more than 2 decades. Jeff has more of a libertarian mindset. Tina Pelkey said that Mr. Jassy meets with policymakers on both sides of the aisle regarding policy issues that could affect our customers. They claim that it would create a negative impact on our customers, which is a pretty dumb excuse. They claimed it would create a negative impact on customers. Mr. Bezos' ambitions in Washington used to be largely social. His ownership of the Washington Post brought him to the city, where he bought a mansion in the Kalorama neighborhood, but Amazon's Washington office staff sometimes didn't know when he was in town. An Amazon team led by Jay Carney, a former White House press secretary, fought to insulate Mr. Bezos from the company's critics. Mr. Jassy, who was in the Republican Club as an undergraduate at Harvard and has donated in recent years to business-friendly Democrats, made helping Amazon navigate the regulatory landscape as a priority right out of the gate. After Mr. Bezos announced that he was stepping down as Amazon's chief last year, Mr. Jassy summoned a group of company executives for a briefing on the antitrust fight, which was reported by 2 people who were invited there. However, Mr. Jassy's efforts potentially were a result of necessity. Political leaders, activists, and academics are taking a closer look at Amazon because of its dominance. The company's responded by expanding its lobbying apparatus in Washington, spending $19.3 million on federal lobbying in 2021, compared with $2.2 a decade earlier, according to Open Secrets, which tracks influence in Washington. Its challenges are mounting. The Federal Trade Commission, which is led by the legal scholar Lena Khan, is investigating whether Amazon violated antitrust laws. Last year, Mr. Biden threw his support behind Amazon workers who were trying to unionize. He has since hosted a union organizer from an Amazon warehouse in the Oval Office. And Congress may vote soon on an antitrust bill that would make it tougher for Amazon to favor its own brands over those offered by competitors on its site. However, whatever the whole situation may be, we hope Andy figures it out and does what's necessary for the company. Well guys, that wraps it up for this video. What'd you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell to get notified by our latest videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.